Hi, welcome to another Clada art class. Today we're going to take a look at this sculpture. What can you see? Right, swans. How many of them can you see? 4. Right. What's this underneath? Yep, it's people. And I suppose the question is it swans turning into people or people turning into swans? In this case, it's these people turning into swans. It's the story of the children of Lear. Some of you will be familiar with the story of the children of Lear from your English and history classes in school. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to let you know that the children of Lear was, in this case, about resurrection and rebirth. And the reason that's relevant is because this sculpture is in the Garden of Remembrance in Dublin. And it was created by Oisin Kelly in 1964. And the garden was opened in 1966 by Eamon de Valera. And it was opened initially to commemorate the people who had fought for our state in 1916. And it's still seen as a place to remember the people who have fought for our country and fought for the independence of our country and fought for our country's protection in world wars and other wars, as well as the 1916 Rising and the 1922 Civil War. So this is a sculpture made from bronze and copper. The reason I'm showing you this particular picture is to see the size of the humans. So these are the humans, and this is the sculpture. So in other words, the scale and proportion of the sculpture is ginormous. So it's at the top of the Garden of Remembrance, which is quite a small park, and a park that you will find very easily if you're ever in Dublin. It's well worth a trip just to see the scale of this sculpture. It's close to the Wax Museum. It's at the top of O'Connell Street in a place called Parnell Street. Parnell Street is the space where you'll find it. Now that I say that, could it be actually called North Frederick Street? It's basically at the top of O'Connell Street. Go all the way up to the top of O'Connell Street and keep going another little bit. As you head towards the Wax Museum, it's into the left. So, this sculpture was created in 1964 by a man called Oisin Kelly, who I'll show you now. So this is Oisin Kelly. This is what he looked like. He was born in 1915, which is kind of interesting because the sculpture is celebrating the rebirth and the resurrection from the way our country lost an awful lot of people in a war, and then the rebirthing or the resurrection of the country came afterwards. So this man was born in 1915, Oisin Kelly, and he died in 1981. So he's been dead for almost 40 years now. He made lots of other sculptures too, but Children of Lear is really his most famous sculpture. I have a little picture of him in his studio that doesn't want to come up with this, so hold on a second. It comes up slightly differently. So this is Oisin Kelly here probably in 1961 or 2, because it would take about 2 years to produce a sculpture that size and magnitude and artistic and crafts work. So this is a little miniature of the sculpture. So it's what we call in the art world a maquette. A maquette is like a miniature version of something that's going to become much bigger. So this is Oisin Kelly in his studio, and this is him with a small miniature maquette of the sculpture The Children of Lear. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look. So we're going to make a little swan ourselves, and we're going to make it from paper and a little toilet roll holder. And yeah, so let's go for it. Let's see how these videos work. So all you're going to need are 4 double sheets of newspaper. The advertiser, that kind of size is good. Don't get me wrong, if you've got bigger broadsheets, they're fine too. But the advertiser is still one that's coming free when you do your shopping. So you might have it in your house as a result, is what I mean. Scrunch it up. So the reason that we're looking at swans this week is to celebrate the Millstreet swans. So the Millstreet swans are kind of the last nest in Galway City. And they're kind of the swans that nest the latest. So we're celebrating the Millstreet swans tonight, or today, by making a swan with paper. So you squish it at the top. So when you bring it all together, just squish it really tight at the top. So you have a little bit of an extension to go into the toilet roll holder. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Now, for the head, you take the last of the 4 pieces and just pinch the very front bit. Brilliant. Sorry, that's just coming by you again, the same little piece. Yeah, it's the same piece that you just saw 2 seconds ago. Sorry. So we're pinching that 4th piece of paper, pinching it at the front to make the beak. Twisting, pinching. And then to make the head, you're kind of squishing it and turning it up inside itself. So you kind of pinch the beak and then squish the head and push the paper up into the head from underneath. Trying to give it a bit of a bulbness, you know. The head is quite bulby, quite round. And there you go. And there's a long bit of a neck then in my 2 fists there. That'll go into the tube. The tube will be a toilet roll holder, which will become the neck of the swan. And then you push the body in from the bottom and the head into the top. And just be mindful that one will be pushing against the other inside the tube. You might need to bend them down a bit more. There we go. There's the kind of basis of a swan. And now we just have to attach the white paper to make the feathers. So what we're doing now is using old letters, bills, that kind of white paper, like we call in school the scrap paper. Ripping it into pieces, some decent sized pieces for the big feathers on the body. That would be kind of the size for the feathers on the body. And then smaller pieces for feathers on the head and the neck. And then we come along with our glue stick. Now, I'm using a glue stick. You can use any kind of glue you can get your hands on. And most of you Cladda school children will know that if you do happen to have PVA glue, which will come in your house, if you have it in your house, it'll be like a craft glue. It might be labelled PVA, it might be labelled craft glue. And then you mix that with a little bit of water and you can paint that on instead of a glue stick if you want. Paint that on and it'll make the paper quite soft. And you know yourself now, if you paint that on, it'll make the entire swan more rigid, which will be better, stronger. You can see from looking at this that the swan has a tendency to lean forward. The more you push that neck back as you work and the more paper feathers you apply, the more the swan will sit more upright. And the difficulty when you're working with making the swan out of paper is because it's light and before you put the weight of the feathers on it, it can be a bit topsy-turvy and that can be annoying. So if you're finding it too annoying, maybe get someone to help you to hold the swan for the first few feathers. It's a bit like the initial stages of paper mache. Sometimes when you paper mache a balloon, it'd be annoying when you start because it keeps falling over and stuff. So just be mindful of that it's not you, it's just annoying. Paper can be annoying. And also be mindful of putting the glue on the printed side of the paper. So try to keep the paper that we see on the outside just white, if you can. Putting a bigger feather there onto the body. I think I dropped my camera. So you put the feathers onto the body using the bigger pieces of white paper, again putting the glue on the printed side, and you'll see in this next little video it's about putting the white pieces of paper on top of each other in layers so that they come underneath each other like that as much as you can. Okay, let's see if we can get this to move. There we go.
This one, you keep going with the white paper. I'm just going to show you how I kept going with the white paper. So putting a little bit on, not covering the whole piece of white paper, putting it underneath each feather. So each feather you apply, you put it underneath the previous feather. That just gives you a feathery effect on your swan's body. Not a necessity. So Elaine's one earlier where she had covered the whole body in white paper. Perfectly beautiful. No need to do the feathers at all. It's only just to show you the different ways you can do it. So you attach like that. You keep going. It's quite, as I was saying in the class, it's quite movely and meditative. Attaching a piece of glue, attaching a piece of paper, and you just keep going and going and going until it's done. Now, I have kind of reinforced the head and the beak, and it's not the perfect swan head. A swan head would have another bit of a bulge on the top, and so maybe you could add that, or maybe be conscious of that when you're building it. And then we'll just add, actually I don't think I have that. Do I have that? I do. So we'll just add, just over the tiny eye. This one is very tiny. There's a big bulge, and the big bulge goes from the eye. It's black, and it goes from the eye to the beak. This big bulge is bigger for the cob, which is the male swan, than it is for the pen, who is the female swan. So the black bulge at the top of the beak, between the eye and the beak, is bigger for the daddy than it is for the mammy. I'm just going to make the beak orange. Sorry, I'm using markers to colour mine. It doesn't matter whether you use paint, markers, crayon, oil pastels, anything will work because you're literally one piece of newspaper and roll it into a ball to be like the grey fluffy signet.
So that's just to make some signets put under the wings.
You saw them in the videos and in the nest. They kind of tuck in underneath, and you could take the piece of paper and make a little tiny beak front.
So that's just to make little tiny signets to put under the swan's wings, because that's where signets sit when they're born.